Terry, can you hear me?
Mary, I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
perfect. I hear you beautifully.
Okay, great. Thanks so
All
much.
right, I'll see you in 8 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, have a good one.
Hi, everyone. This is Terry. I'm here with thanks to the JCC for our paint night from home. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this evening with you. I want to make sure everyone's all set up. So if you could give me a thumbs up that you have your paint kit with you, or you have your painting supplies out and are ready to begin, that would be terrific. So what I want to see is that you know that you need a water cup, that you have something old or smock-like on, that you have brushes nearby, something to mix paint on, a palette, a paper plate, a piece of wax paper, something to dry your brushes on, some paper towels, or an old rag. In our image, you may be able to see, I'm going to shift a little bit, maybe we can get a better view, the painting that we'll be doing today, which includes the sun and some water, a little bit of a landscape. And we'll talk about including a rainbow in it if you'd like later on. And your paints. And I believe that's everything. So just give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. I can't hear you, but I'll know. I see a lot of thumbs. Let's keep going. I'm just going to check. Everybody ready? Thumbs up. Excellent. Keep going. Excellent. Really nice. We have about 45 people signed up so far, so I just want to make sure I'm giving you time. If you're opening things now, don't rush. I'm not going to start till I see almost everyone is ready. Terrific. Keep going. If you've ordered the paint kit that we recommended, the canvases come in a 2-pack and they're covered in plastic. So just make sure you pull that plastic off. Love that thumbs up. Excellent. Okay, great. So I'll give you just one more minute to go. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been an art teacher for a long, long time. I've worked at the JCC for almost 10 years. I think actually over 10. I worked at the JCC summer day camp as an art teacher, and I still enjoy working with kids at the JCC and after school art programs when we're in regular session. Okay, great. So I apologize. I see that my sign is backwards, which my son had warned me might happen. So I'll just read to you what it says. It says, Paint Night with Terry. Art is never wrong. If you're not happy with the way something looks, change it so you're happy. For your setup, we've gone over already your paint kit, brushes, paint, canvas board, easel, and palette. That's the paint mixing tray. Some kind of water cup, rag, or paper towels, a smock rolled shirt, and perhaps a paper plate for mixing colors on. Okay, thanks. I hear someone telling me it's not backwards for you. Thanks for letting me know. You're going to be using that palette today to mix paint. That's the little one that came with the paint set. But as you notice, I also have a paper plate out. Whatever works better for you is fine. I'm going to suggest strongly to you that as we work today, that you wash and dry your brush very well between colors. Acrylic paint does not like to be watery. It gets very, very see-through if it's watery. And one of the wonderful things about it is that you don't see through it. So try to really keep that brush dry when you switch colors. I'm going to start today with some yellow paint. If you've never used these kinds of tubes before, the way to open them is to remove the top. Mine is clearly opened already, but you'll simply place the lid with the pointy side up on a flat surface and press down with the paint till you hear it kind of click, and you'll notice the paint's now open. And what I want you to do in one of the big wells in your section is put out a nice amount of yellow paint. I'm going to put quite a bit out to start with. I'm also going to close that paint and take out a little bit of the red color, which in this set is a vermilion red. It's a very orangey red, so don't be surprised. And I'm going to put a little bit of that out in one of the small sides of the paint. So right now I have these two out. Don't want to make anybody seasick there. And I'm going to take my large flat brush. This is a brush that has a straight edge across the top. I'm going to bring it in close so you can see it. And it's the biggest brush that came with this set. When I paint today, since my canvas is somewhat small, I'm going to be holding my brush down near this metal part. That's called the ferrule. And it really helps me to keep balance. While I set up my easel, you might find it easier to have your paint board flat on the table. It's really a personal choice. So I see friends putting out some paint. I'm just going to scroll along and make sure everyone's still set up. And if you need another moment or two, it looks like everybody's got a face on, so I'm thinking we're ready to get started. I see some moms around getting some stuff out and some kids putting things down. That's terrific. Okay, terrific. So I'm going to get started in just a moment or two. And I want to remind you, as I said when I started, that art is never wrong. So if you are not happy with the way things are looking, you take your brush and you change it until you're happy. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start today with a dry brush. If you put your brush in the water, dry it off on your paper towels or on your rag. Make sure it's really dry. Notice I'm brushing to dry my brush. I'm not pulling. I don't want to pull off the ferrule and the brush part. It's really easy to do that with some brushes. I'm going to get some some paint on my brush. And I've loaded my brush up about halfway. I don't know if you're able to see that or not. And I'm going to start by creating a horizon line on my picture. That's a line that divides the sky and the water in this picture. For artists, the most interesting place to put your horizon line is any place except for right in the middle. So you can put your horizon line up high. That's that line that separates the sky and the ground. Think if you've ever been to the beach and you look across the water, it looks like the sky and the water kind of meet somewhere. And we know truly that doesn't really exist in real life. There's no line on the horizon, but our eye fools us and creates one. So I'm going to create a horizon line for this painting that's down about 2/3. And I'm going to do my best across. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little bit higher, it can be a little bit lower. And then I'm going to take a little bit more paint and I'm going to create a giant sun in the center. You can make yours bigger than I did. You can make yours smaller. You can make yours a semicircle. It's up to you. If you don't want to put it smack dab in the middle, that's also okay. And I'm just going to use that brush and keep refilling that brush to fill it up completely, fill up my sun completely with yellow. You'll notice in my finished example that I have a lot of colors in the sun. Don't worry about that yet. Start with the yellow and fill in a sun. And then I'm going to give everyone a chance to do that. And while you're finishing that, I'm going to tell you that the next step is going to include a little bit of the red. We're going to use very, very little. And what we're going to do is create a line around the sun to separate it from the rays of the sun. So in a moment or two, I'm going to take my brush with the yellow on it. And I'm going to take a little red on my brush, using the flat end of my brush and holding my brush vertically. And I'm going to go around the edges of my sun to separate the sun from the background of the sun. I don't want to feel that I'm rushing anyone, so I'm going to just look around to see. I think my arm is blocking my sample. I'll move that in a second. I'm just going to look around to see. It looks like everybody's kind of painting or looking, so I'm going to give you a few moments to do that. And if you're not set up, don't worry. I'm going to take my time. I'll review the steps and go over each thing so that if you've joined us a little bit later, you'll still be able to paint. You guys are doing great. Just keep going. So what we started with was a horizon line using yellow. We put it near the bottom third of our painting, but as I said, there's no wrong in art. So if you're not pleased with the way that looks, then you can make it higher or lower. It's up to you. Okay, So I feel like most everyone has got their sun painted in. I'm just going to give you another minute or so to do that. And it's okay while you're waiting to hold the brush with the paint on it. You don't need to put it in water. You don't need to wash it. It's okay to just continue to hold it the way you are now. Great. And I apologize. I feel like my camera is not terrific, and it's hard to see the detail in the painting sample that I did. Trying to get a good angle here. Okay, I'm not sure I can do any better than what you've got, so I'm gonna just leave that right where it is. Okay, so I'm taking my brush now, I'm holding it vertically as if it was a tree, and I'm dipping just the very tip into the red, and I might even move to the next tray and just brush a little bit of that off. And then I'm going to take my brush and right around the edge of my sun, I'm going to just put a little bit of red on it. And as you do that, you're going to notice that some of the yellow is going to blend in a little bit. And so the red that you start with is going to turn into a slightly more orangey kind of red. And that's perfect because you and I know that when you mix yellow and red, we always get orange. And as I go around, I see that I could use a little bit more red. So I'm taking a little bit more red on my brush and dipping it in. If I smush a little bit, it's okay because art is never wrong. And I go all the way around. Okay, great. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and just blend that in a little bit right into the inside of my circle of my yellow. And I may be able to just do that just with the yellow that's left on my brush and the red that I had put on it. So I'll give everyone a moment to do that. You're doing great. I see people concentrating and really looking at what they're painting, and that's terrific. Remember, there's no wrong here. So if your line is thicker than mine or thinner than mine, or it's more orange or more red, all are okay, and you're doing great. Okay, I need you guys to smile at me as you're painting because I'm sitting here by myself and I want to know that everybody's happy. There we go. I got some smiles that time. Thank you so much. Can always wave every so often. When you hear me clicking, I'm clicking on to check how everyone's doing. Okay, so I'm continuing to use the same flat brush and I'm going to load up with more yellow. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in the area around my sun. And that's the background. And that includes the area that in my finished painting looks like it has some wheat strands growing up or some trees or some people or buildings, whatever you want to think they are. So I'm taking my yellow and I'm going to come from the center and I'm just going to go all the way to the edges of my canvas and I'm going to fill in the whole thing with yellow. And that's why you needed a lot of yellow to start because this takes quite a bit of paint. And I apologize, my canvas is a little bit less smooth than yours. I had done a sample painting that I didn't love, so I recovered it. And so it's not quite as smooth as yours. So you're going to see in my painting, let me move my water a little bit. You're going to see that my canvas is a little lumpy and bumpy, but that's okay. So I'm going to fill in one edge here. And you notice I'm working quickly. I'm not really focusing on filling in every single section here. And there's a reason for that. So I'm going to keep going. I can go from the center all the way over. I can come from the edge and go to the middle. And I did want to do it in a way that looks like rays, even though you can't really tell because it's all yellow at this point. So I see that I'm probably going to need a little bit more yellow paint. So if you need more, just take your yellow. You don't need to re-pierce it each time, just the first time. And you can fill in your sky with some more yellow. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So I'll give you guys time to do that. And I'm going to also suggest that if it's easier, like I said, to put your paint board down flat. I'm feeling that my easel here is kind of flipping all over town. So, and remember, you don't have to cover every single spot. That's okay. Okay, so right now that's what I've got on my canvas. And I'm gonna take my cursor now and just look across and see how everyone's doing. So smile at me if you're doing okay. If you're doing all right, if you're having fun. Remember to hold that brush near the silver part, the ferrule. And you can load up your brush with paint, but you don't have to get paint all the way up to the metal part. You can just keep it right on the bristle part. You guys are doing great. I want to shout out to some friends I know who have taken my class with me. I see some moms painting, I see some kids painting, I see some dads painting. It's all good. Art is the great relaxer. Excellent. Terrific. You guys are doing great and having fun. And that's the way to do it. I'll give you a few moments to do that because I know it does take a little bit of time. You might find that you need to put more paint out. Take your time doing that. You guys are doing great. It's nice to see the sun on the canvas as it starts to set around me. And it's always great to know that in the next morning, the sun's going to come up again and give us some good vitamin D and some good energy. And I hope everyone's able to take a little bit of time each day to get outside and enjoy that. Okay. I'll give you just another moment here to fill in that background with yellow. And the reason I don't want to wait too much longer is because one of the really great things about acrylic paint is that it dries quickly. And one of the really hard things about acrylic paint is that it dries quickly. So when you want to blend and mix colors, if you wait too long, things dry and you need to reapply in order to blend. Okay. I see friends still painting. I'm going to look just once more. You want to give me a thumbs up when you have that background all done. I see one thumb, 2, 3, good, 4, 5, 6, excellent. So we're kind of mixed now. There's some of us that have thumbs up. There are some of us that are still painting. Okay, we'll give another few moments. I see Melanie smiling. Hi, Melanie. Good, thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks. We're doing great. Okay, good. Okay, still see some friends painting, good. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next step. Again, with my brush still with yellow on it, I'm going to dip in that red again, holding it flat, holding near the ferrule, and I'm gonna get some red on it. And this time I'm gonna turn my brush so that I'm creating some rays coming out of the sun. Some of the rays are gonna come from the sun itself. Some are going to start in the middle of the background and some are going to start near the end. So watch as they work and you'll understand. If you feel the red's too red, you can always dip a little bit more in your yellow. If you think it's too yellow, dip a little bit more in your red. So I'm taking some red on my brush and I'm going to go to my sun and I'm holding right near the metal and I'm starting at the sun and I'm going to go out towards the edge. And as I do that, you're going to see that the paint that's on my brush starts to fade a little bit. If there's one that's really dark, that's okay. I don't need every section to come all the way to the end. So some of my rays are going to start in the middle of the background and go to the end. I'm going to dip a little bit more. Some are going to start right at the end of the canvas and go to the end. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way around. And these look pretty strong and intense right now. And you'll notice on my sample that they're not so strong and intense. And that's something I'm going to show you how to use the brush in a different way in a few moments. So I'm going to continue around, reminding you that art is never wrong. Whoops, that one came in kind of dark. That's okay. And if you're not happy with the way it looks, you're going to use your brush and your time and be kind to yourself. And take a good look and not be too critical because art is never wrong. And create some more brushes there. And I'm going to continue doing that around a little bit more red. And I see a couple chats down below, so I'm just going to click on and see if there's anything that I need to answer for anyone. Let's see. Okay, good. Okay, good. We're doing good. Excellent. Okay, you guys are doing great. Whoops. I leaned on my keyboard, and so now I've got this whole series of plus signs. Let's see if I can get rid of those in my chat. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to take my brush back into a little bit of the yellow, and I put it right on top of the red that was on my brush, and I'm gonna go from the center, but now I have my brush flat, not on the side anymore, and I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna start spreading some of those, smudging some of those colors in together. A little bit more yellow, and you see how that's starting to happen? I can do that from the center. I can do it on the end, especially in those places where I maybe feel like I got a little bit too much paint. I'm going to take a little bit more yellow and come around. And you're doing great. Just keep doing that all around. You can add in some more red if you like. I can start at the end and work my way in, or start in the middle and come to the edge. I feel like I need a little bit more red in mine, but I notice I need to put some more yellow out. So I'm going to refill my yellow in the tray. I'm also at this time going to add some more red in, and I'm going to add in some more intense, some more rays, because I feel like I don't have enough. I see a lot of yellow coming out of the sun when I want to see more red. I hear my dog and my husband just walk by. If anybody else has their pets around them, I know I've been enjoying spending all this time with my dog, and I hear them going out for a little bit. So if you hear the door closing, that's what's going on in my house right now. Okay, and then I'm going to start spreading a little bit more yellow and a little bit more red all around, and continue doing that all around my painting. And what I'm doing when I add the yellow over it is I am kind of creating a less intense line. I'm blurring the line a little bit. I'm blending a little bit. And when I do that, it starts to look a little bit like a sun, the sun's ray is shining out. Okay, I'm going to do something now, which is up to you if you want to do. I'm going to add a little bit of red into my sun, because I feel like it's a really yellowy sun right now, and I want it to look a little bit more orange. So I'm going to put a little bit more red on my brush, a little bit more yellow on my brush, and I'm going to go near the edge in case I don't love it. And I'm going to create, again, just a little bit thicker reddish edge there, reddish orangey edge. But I might leave the center of the sun just that pure yellow for now. And I'm going to maybe add some more red on my tip of my brush and continue with the rays all around. And remember what I said, they don't have to all start at the end. Some can start in the middle. You can have some that are more intense, some that are less intense. All is good. There's no wrong here. And we're going to fill in. I feel like I got a lot of red in that corner. Let me see if I can pull some of that out with some yellow on top of it. Okay, now here's the hard part in art. When you feel like it looks good, this is the hard thing about when you stop. When you feel like it's looking pretty good, I want to show you the next step in for the sun. And this is a little bit of highlighting with some white. And you guys are doing great. It's hard for me to gauge how you're doing. I don't want to feel like I'm rushing you. So I'm going to take my cursor again, and I'm just going to look through and see how people are progressing. So if you feel like you're ready for the next step, what I want you to do is either give me, how about instead of a thumbs up, a brush up this time? Just stick your brush in the air so I can tell you're ready to move on. Okay, I got 1 or 2 brushes up. 1 or 2 brushes up. A lot of people are still painting, so I'm going to give you a moment or two. Okay, thanks for your patience. You're doing great if you're moving on along. and you're waiting for us, I thank you so much, because art is never a race. So some friends are going to take a little longer, and some friends are going to need a little bit less time, and that's all good. Great. Really, really pleased with how everyone's doing. You guys are terrific. Pardon my shoulder in the picture. I know you don't really need to see my shoulder, I suppose. Okay, good. I'm gonna move my mouse into a hard surface so that I don't have to keep using my thumb. Okay, great. So still see some friends painting. Okay, brushes up if you're ready to move on. Okay, I got a few more brushes that time. Great, okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next step, and that's gonna involve putting out a little bit of white paint. So find the white paint in your set. And remember, if you weren't here earlier when I showed how to open the paints, unscrew your cap, put the pointy side of the cap on your table, very gently push down with your paint set, and that will pierce the opening of your paint. And in one of the small wells, put a bit of white. You will need some white for the next step too, so you can put out a nice section. Think about the size of a dime maybe. That's a good amount to put out. And again, I'm not going to wash my brush yet. I'm going to take the tip of my brush and dip it into my white. And I'm going to do what I did with the red, but now I'm going to do it with white. So I'm going to start in the center of my sun. No, I'm not going to start in the center of my sun. I'm going to start on the edges of my sun. And I'm going to put out some white streaks in my background in my sun. So I'm going to do some thin whites. And again, they don't have to all be in the center. From the center, some can be in the edges. And you want real thin lines here. If they get too thick, we can blend them in later. I hear the wind blowing outside. Really strong. It's a nice sound. Very comforting. I always think the weather's changing a little bit towards spring when the wind blows like that. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing that around my painting. If I feel like I've got too much white, just re-dip into my yellow, put a little bit over, and blend it in a little bit. And you see how easily that starts to look like the sun's rays shining out from the sun. A little bit more light coming through than just the pure yellow and the vermilion red. So I'm looking at my picture. As an artist, I step back every now and then and look at what I've done and take a real critical eye, but a real positive critical eye. For example, I like certain parts of it, and other parts I feel like I'm seeing like my brushes too much. You might like that. You might like to see the brush stroke. Sometimes I don't want to see those. So I might take my brush with a little yellow, and I might blend in an area where I've already put down another color like the red. And I might blend it in a little bit more, so it's not quite as extreme. And then check it out and see how I like it. If I don't like it, I can always add that color back in. I'm going to take my brush now, and I'm going to put a little bit of white on an edge near the edge of the sun too. Maybe even a little white inside my sun so that it looks like it's glowing from within. And I'm going to even out some of those white lines that I put in a little bit more. I feel like my background is much more yellow than it was in the one that I did originally, my sample, but that's okay because it's a different painting. But if I wanted to, I could take my brush with some red again, and I can add some more red in those interior lines where I don't seem to have any red, or in places where there's a lot of yellow coming out of the sun, and maybe in those places I want more red. Again, this is a personal choice. There's no wrong or right here. So if you feel like it needs more red, put more red. And if you feel like it looks great, leave it the way it is. And here, I think I just put a little too much red for me personally. So I'm going to maybe blend this one in a little bit. Maybe you like it like that. That's okay. And as I start layering these colors and blending, you'll start to see that it doesn't look quite so much like stripes anymore. Now it's starting to look like sun's rays in the background. Okay, and so here's where one of those moments where you have to stop and think, okay, do I feel like it's done or do I need more? If you feel like it's more, you're going to continue in the manner in which we started. Little red first. Tiny drops of white throughout. Blend it with the yellow until you're happy. I'm going to add a little bit of something in here. I don't want that. Okay, you guys are doing great. I'm going to go along. If you feel like you're ready for us to move down, we're getting towards, we're going to start with the water in a few minutes, and we're going to leave that part in between the sun and the water for last. And the reason we're going to leave that for last is because I want the sun part to dry a little bit before we add in the next section. So I hope you're having fun so far and enjoying paint night. I want to tell you that we do have another night scheduled for about 2 weeks from today, which is April 14th, and we will be doing another painting. If you had purchased the kit, it comes with 2 canvases, so you could do that second one another night. If you have more than 1 kid painting and you've used both tonight, you can purchase additional canvases. I think that we will get that linked to you. I was able to find them through one of the online stores that was available. They come in a pack of 5, and that's the 6x8 size that came with your paint kit. If you want a larger size, there are many different sizes available, and that's totally up to you. I find this size is a real manageable size. You can put it in your window if you want to put a rainbow on it later on. You can hang it in your bedroom, you could put it on your fridge, you could stick it in an envelope and mail it to someone you love that you haven't seen in person in a couple of weeks. All good things. Okay, so I'm moving along and I want to see how we're doing. So if you're ready for us to move to the water, if you could just put your paintbrush up. Looking good, Robin, I see it, looking good. If you want to show me your painting, you can fling it to the screen so I can see how you're doing. That would be terrific, but you don't have to. It's up to you. Really nice. Thanks. Thanks, Alexis. Looking good. I love it. Nicely done, David. I love couples painting. Nice job, folks. Nice job. These look good. They're all so different. Look at it, Eva. It looks great. Nicely done. Nicely done. Hi, Gabby. And Mom. Are you guys doing mom and daughter paint night? I love it. That's terrific. Nice job. Nice job. Anybody else? Thank you so much. The Spanikias, I don't know how to say it. I love it. I love it. You guys are doing great. Nicely done. Nicely done. Thank you. Lucretia, nice job. Nice job. I love the sun. Look at these. Look at these, mother and daughter. The Bhavnas. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jennifer. Look at these. Wow, you guys are terrific. I'm really, really pleased to see how you're working. It's so hard to know how things are going. Hi, Carol Ann and Caitlin. Yay, look at you guys. Amy, it looks great. Thank you, Melanie and daughter. Nice to see you guys. Great. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the time to wash our brush. Now, here's where I said, remember at the beginning, acrylic paint does not want a wet brush. So take your water cup, whatever it is, stick that brush in and really, 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 really rinse it around. You notice I haven't pulled the brush out yet. Keep smushing it around. We've got a lot of paint on it and it's been sitting on that brush for a while. Keep smushing it around. When you feel like the brush is mostly clean, take it and very gently, and kids don't splash, wipe it on the side of your cup. So I say, swish, swish, swish it around. Wipe, 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 wipe. And then remember what I said, brush to dry, not pull. So I'm brushing, brushing, till my brush is clean and water is not coming off. Feel it on your hand. If it feels wet still, dry it some more. Okay, once your brush is dry, we're going to use this brush again, and I promise we'll use the other brushes, but just not yet. And I want you to take your blue paint, and I want you to open your blue paint. Remember again, turn it so the point is facing the sky. Press down on the table gently and put out some blue. You will need a bit of blue, but not quite as much as you needed of the yellow. Seal up that paint real tight so you have it for another day. And then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take some white into your blue and mix up a little bit of a lighter blue, because the blue that comes out of the paint kit is a little dark for the next step. So what we're going to do is take a, let's take white and move the white over to a different tub. And let's take a section of blue and put it in and start mixing. So we want a color, let's see if I can get you this. We want a color that's like not quite a sky blue, but not as dark as the blue that comes out of the kit. If it seems too light, add a little bit more blue. If it seems too dark, add a little bit more white. And then we're going to paint with that. And when you do that, you're going to use a left to right kind of stroke, and it doesn't have to be perfectly covered, and it doesn't have to be perfectly blended. As a matter of fact, it's better in this case if it's not really blended. So let's fill in that bottom. Left to right with that big brush. I'm going to take a little bit more blue. I don't necessarily want the whole thing to be even. And I'm going to paint that all across, a little bit of the regular blue, a little bit of the mixed up blue. And again, it doesn't need to be perfectly smooth, but it should be covered. It's okay if the edge near the sun is not particularly even. As a matter of fact, that might be more interesting. So if it's looking like it's a straight edge and you don't like that, whoops, I went up a little bit, but that's okay. Just fill it in. Okay, great. When you have that done, we're going to wash that big brush again. So again, I mixed up blue and white. I used my big brush, clean and dry, and I went left to right and filled in. And remember, and I apologize again because my canvas is not quite as smooth as yours because there's some painting under there. So again, I'm going to wash into my water cup. Swish it all around, didn't need to cover my painting. When it looks like there's no paint on that brush, I'm going to wipe it on the edge of the cup. And then I'm going to take my paper towel, rag, whatever, and I'm going to wipe my brush to get the water off. I'm going to feel it on my hand. If it seems dry, I'm going to leave it. And if not, I'm going to continue to wipe. And then I'm going to put that paintbrush aside. This paint kit came with 2 other brushes. They are both very similar in size and shape. So I want you to just pick the one that you like better. It makes no difference. They are so similar in size and shape that I'm not quite sure why they didn't give you a different kind of brush, but that's just my opinion, and you don't need to worry about that. I'm going to choose the slightly thicker one. I think that's the one I used when I demonstrated last time. And now I'm going to look at my paint. I still have some red. I still have some yellow. I still have some blue, but I do need more white. So I'm going to put out a little bit more white. Not so much, again, maybe the size of a dime again. And here's where I'm going to do some dabbing. So I'm going to be dipping my brush in paint, and I'm going to dab it across my canvas. And when I start that, it's going to look really funky, and it's not going to look like anything. And when I finish it, it's going to look like the water with the light reflecting off it. So here's what we're going to do. Pick your favorite color. I'm a blue girl. But I also know sometimes it's easier to wash my brush if I start with a light color. So maybe I'm going to start with white this time. And I'm going to stick my brush in the water. I'm going to use the side of my brush, not just the tip, to get white on it. And I'm going to put some dabs of white across. No particular order. Looks like a lump, and that's perfect. That's what it should look like. They could be horizontal, they could be vertical, they can go across, they can be on the top. And then I'm going to stop with that color. I'm going to wash my brush really well. And it looks like I did polka dots on the bottom, right? And you're thinking, Terry, that looks nothing at all like the water. But believe me, next step, wipe my brush on the side, dry my brush, make sure it's really, really, really dry, really clean. Pick my next color, whatever it is, yellow, blue, red. I'm gonna take some red next, just a few little drops of red. A few drops, maybe near the other ones, maybe not. Wash my brush. Dry my brush. Dry it really well. I'm going to take just a break for a second, and I apologize. My throat is feeling a little bit like I've been talking more than I have been recently, so I'm taking a quick sip. Some nice soothing warm tea, and back to my painting. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow next. I'm going to add a few drops of yellow here and there. Don't be surprised if some of your yellow starts turning into green, because we all know that yellow and blue mix to make green. Few drops of yellow here and there. And then I'm going to wash my brush again. Wash really well. I'm going to dry off. First wipe. And I'm going to dry. Making sure it's very, very dry. Then I'm going to switch to some straight blue, some dark blue. Again, I'm putting a lot of blue on my brush, and I want some contrast, so I might put my dark blue near the white. I might put it near the yellow. I'm going to do that on purpose. If I need more blue, I'll get more blue. Some spots where there's no blue. So I'm feeling that still looks a lot like polka dots. So I'm going to use that same brush that has a blue on it to maybe mix up a little bit of white in it. So I have a different kind of blue happening now. Maybe some blue with a little white in it. That still has a lot of white. I need a little bit more blue on that brush. So I'm going to add some more stripes in that aren't quite one solid color. I'm going to keep dabbing all around. Sometimes the ocean looks like it has some green in it, and I feel like I don't really see green, so I might take my blue brush, put a little bit of yellow on it on purpose, and maybe mix up a little bit of green, see if I can get some green into the ocean. You do have a green in your paint kit. I don't love it, but it is an option. So if you want to go ahead and take a little green and put a little green down, I'd use it sparingly, but you certainly can do that. I'm not a green girl, but it does have its place in art, and always all colors are beautiful, so whichever you like. And I'm stepping back from looking at my painting, and I feel like I have some real intense yellow spots, so I'm going to dull those down a little bit with maybe a little bit of white and a little bit of blue. Blow those down just a little bit, just a little bit. They look a little too intense for me. And I'm also creating some more splashes of color in my water. And I'm going to continue doing that until you, as the artist, feel like it looks like the ocean down below. I still think I need a little bit more time on mine, so I'm going to give you that time as well to work on your water. Go to your color. If you want to wash your brush, go ahead. If you don't want to, use it to help you mix in the color. And that hard part is always deciding when you should stop with what you're doing and move on to the next section. I'm getting there. I'm going to do another few spots, maybe another spot or two of white. And then when I finish that, I'm going to actually need to wash this brush again, because we're going to switch back to our big one. Okay, everybody doing okay? Lucretia, did you get which brush I'm using? I'm using one of the small round ones. Sorry, I didn't see your answer. Okay. So you don't really need, Alexis, you don't really need to blend in the dots, but you can if you'd like. If you look at my finished sample, which I realize is hard to see, I don't know why maybe if I can put it like this. Yeah, I'm probably making everyone seasick. If I can hold it still, maybe if I put it here. Okay, so I didn't really blend, but your eye does that for you. So when you are painting, sometimes you do the blending and sometimes your eye blends for you. And I just want to let you know that if you'd like to, when we finish tonight, you can post your pictures on the JCC Facebook page under the Paint Night event. That would be wonderful to see. Listen, Alexis, if it looks like polka dots, keep going. That's what I said about mine. And we'd love to share when you're finished. When we're done, we'll remind you, but we'd love for you to share it on the JCC Facebook page. Okay, we have one more section left to do. If you're still with us, I hope we're going to finish that last middle section. Alexis, I hope you have a little bit more success with your dots in the water. And one thing you can do is just continue with it, because if it looks like they're still polka dotty, then you need to add more in. Okay, don't feel that you need to stop just because I'm moving on. So if you're feeling like this isn't looking like water yet and you want more time in here, keep going. Okay, that's what I'm doing now. I'm adding a little bit more in, covering some areas I had, adding some more depth to it. I'm not loving the way the red's looking. I think I added less red in my original one. So I'm going to take some of my blue and dull that down, because if I add red to the blue, it starts to turn to a little browny. This set doesn't really create a beautiful purple when you do red and blue. So I'm going to just dull it down a little bit to a brown with the red and blue. And I've taken a little bit of that red out. Okay, I'm a little bit happier now. So I'm going to move now to my flat brush again. So I'm washing the brush I just used, rinsing it off. Wipe it on the edge of my water cup, dry it on the rag, make sure it's nice and dry. And I'm going to take my flat edge brush that we started with. And now I'm going to do some, use the flat edge again. And I'm going to use some red, yellow, white, and a little bit of the yellow and blue to make the green vertical stripes to create these lines here across the bottom. So again, I put my brush in my red, and I'm going to start from my horizon line, and I'm going to go up. Now here's where you can decide how much you want to cover on your sun or how little you want to cover on your sun. Maybe you want the section to be less thick, or maybe you want it to be taller. So it's up to you, really. I have some red on my brush, straight red. And I'm going to make some vertical lines now. And that's why we wanted that first section to be dry, because without it being dry right now, this would just all be blending in. So I've got some lines across. I'm going to add a little bit of white in, do some white lines in. I'm going to take a little blue into my yellow and create some green. I'm going to do some green lines. Okay. I don't know how much you want to do there, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this, but I want to tell you, oh, the dog's coming down again. But I want to tell you that you can put as much or as little as you'd like in that section. So here I've just added a little bit more red, and I'm going to continue that across till I like the way it looks. And when I say I mean you. If you're happy, you stop, and if you're not, you keep going till you're pleased with the way it looks. And our very last step today is to add kind of like the tops of those wheats. And to do that, we're going to use the same brush but I'm gonna recommend that you rinse it off a little bit or very much. Dry it on the edge and then wipe it dry here. And you can add some white tips, some red tips, some green tips, whatever you like. So I'm going to start with the white because, and I'm just going to put some horizontal, some vertical, some diagonal dips of white on the tips of the sweet stuff. That was a little thick, but that's okay. I can have some of it covering the sun. After I get some red in, I might wash my brush, dry my brush, do a little bit with the red. That feels wet. Nope, that's good. Okay, and then maybe a little bit of blue and green. So a tiny little bit of blue and a tiny little bit of yellow, just a tiny little bit because the blue gets really, really green really fast. And I'm just going to do that across the top. Maybe I need that contrast here. Okay, and when I feel like I'm finished, I'm going to step back, take a look at my painting, wash my brush, dry my brush, and we are done. So here's what I'd like you to do. As you finish, I would love for us to share our paintings. I can certainly show an up close on the vertical. Hold on, let's see. Does that help? I know my camera's not great. Okay, I hope that helps. So those lines, Nicole, they're supposed to be like wheat field, or they could be buildings. It's up to you what you want to interpret them to be. There's not really a right or wrong answer here. Lucia, if you have another question, just shoot me another chat. I'm sorry, I know it's late for some of the little guys, and I know their schedule's so out of whack. Nicely done, Alexis. I love it. I love it. I like the way the bottom came out. Good job. Good job. You're welcome. Can I see a smile there, Mr. Spaninkia? Thank you so much. Nice to see you. I love the way it looks. Love the way it looks. Great to see you. Elliot and Janelle, nicely done. They're so different. I love it. That's the coolest thing, is that everyone's created a painting that's based on one, but they all are different because you're each different artists and they all have your own unique sign on them. Thanks, Melanie. Love it. Great to see you. And you're not finished yet, Robin. That's okay. You don't have to be finished. Just because I'm finished and our time is almost up doesn't mean you need to be up. Lucretia, it looks beautiful. Really nicely done. Look at those sun. Now, here's the deal. If you want to include, hi, Vana's, nice job, and David and wife, nicely done. If you guys want to include a rainbow in the corner and hang this up in your window for the neighborhood kids, that's great. Hi, Lucia, looks beautiful. I hope that face behind you is going to give us a little smile. Oh, look at that face. Thank you. That's worth all of paint night right there. Carrie, look at it. I love it. I love it. And I love that you painted what you wanted. That's wonderful. That's exactly what you should do. Eva, nicely done. Look at that sun shining in the sky. Always there for us every single day. Beautiful. Nicely done. Adiane, love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Nicely done. Arliss, very nice. Arls, sorry, I love it. Look at that water. I want to go for a swim. And Sarah, nicely done. I see a whole family affair there. Look at this. You have a triptych going. Nice job, Nicole. Nicely done. Nicely done. Kristen, look at them. Beautiful. Look at that water and the sun. I love the sun on the other end of the painting. Wonderful. Not right in the center. And look at these partial suns. Nicely done, Hallis crowd. Good job. And it looks great. Look at the weed in that picture. Beautiful job. Nice job on the sun and the water too. Look at those lines. Thank you so much, Anne, for sharing. Anybody else want to hold up their paintings? Hey, listen, I forgot to mention. Oh, there we go, Gabby. Yay, nicely done, the Gabbies, mom and daughter. Looks great. If you haven't, take a moment when it's dry and sign the front of your painting. You're the artist. Hi, Carol Ann and Caitlin. They look great. Sign the front. You're the artist. Date it. Remember this day. Hi, Jennifer. Look at these. Another mother and daughter. Love it. Love it. Great work. Hi, Lucy. Great to see you, Lucy. It looks beautiful. I love what you did with the sun on the side. Really nicely done. Great to see you. Give me a smile, Luce. Thank you, sweetheart. Anybody else want to share? Okay, we're good. So don't forget to post on the JCC Facebook page when you're done. We'd love to see them. I had a wonderful day painting with you. If anybody has any questions, you can send me a chat for another few minutes. I think we have about 4 more minutes left of our time. And I want to just remind you, Tuesday, April 14th, we'll be painting another scene again, and I'd love to see you again. Thank you so much for participating. I hope this gave you a little break, a little stress reliever, and a little memory that sun's going to be there tomorrow for us. You are my sunshine. You guys made my day. Thank you so much. It was great to see everyone. Oh, brush care. Thank you so much. By the way, at cleanup, 2 ways to clean your palette if you haven't used a disposable one. With a dry cloth or a dry rag or paper towel, wipe off as much paint as you can. Run it under cool water with soap to get it off, in a slop sink if you have one. If you don't have a slop sink, let it dry, and tomorrow scrape it off with a dry towel. Dump the water down a slop sink and make sure your paints are sealed and closed for the next time we meet or the next time you want to use them. If you got any acrylic paint on your clothing, try to get it out while it's wet. Otherwise, acrylic is permanent when dry. I'm sorry to tell you that. Thank you so much again, everyone. I'm glad that people seem to have a good time and have fun. Let us know how you feel it went. If you have any suggestions, always welcome to make things better for the next time. So just let us know. And I'm going to give a quick wave. I'm going to take off my, because I haven't let you see my face, and I'm going to say hi, everyone. It was great to see you. I'm so happy to be able to work with you today. You can see the other part of my room that I'm working in. Here's a close-up of the sample. Here's a close-up of the one we did tonight. Okay, and that's it. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you have a great night, an easy day tomorrow, and I hope to see you again on the 14th.